going to go 0 to 1 in the next hour on using the new image generation model from Google, Nano Banana, and seeing what that looks like in Gumloop. Gumloop makes it as easy as having a node that you pull on Canvas, and you can do different things like product renderings. You could do things like product ads. You can make movie posters, thumbnails, blog posts. It's a really interesting feature. So we'll talk about that. As we go, this is set up as a build along, so feel free to open up Gumloop if you can, and we're gonna go step by step, ask questions. The reason we keep these small is to be able to help answer questions along the way. You can post them in the chat just for general questions, and then also questions if you're getting stuck in Gumloop itself. We can talk about best practices. So I'll show you the demo, we'll go through the build along, and we've got time at the end for discussion and debrief. How's that sound?
Sounds great.
Awesome. So for just some quick context setting, I'm Michael, founder of Worldwide Studios with Dylan. Our main goal is to help anyone build anything in the age of AI, from new automations in Gumloop and Lindy AI to voice assistants or just new skills. And so when thinking about why this session for Nano Banana is Google's latest image generation model. And if we're thinking about Google, last year they were discounted out in terms of foundation model updates. This year they are leading the leaderboards. Even yesterday they just released a new computer tool use model that's super interesting. And so Google Gemini is back, Google is back. But the reason Nano Banana and Gemini, it's Gemini Flash 2.5, but the rename was Nano Banana, and that stuck. The reason Nano Banana has been so interesting in the last month is it's one of the first models with persistence in character. So you can see here, if you got just a general 2D character, you make it into a 3D model. People have been doing that virally with themselves or with different cartoons. There's a level of intelligence because it's a Google-based model where people have been giving it flat 2D images of a map, and it's been predicting what the 3D view is, which is there's a level of intelligence that's baked into the model. Again, that's Google's pre-training data. And because it has persistency with the scene, you can start doing things too, like annotation. This would have been previously impossible with other image gen models because it would have hallucinated. It would have just added its own things. And so it's not perfect, but there's a lot of new functionality in just giving it a reference image, getting a reference image out. This is an example of someone who's just like, what's a portrait of me if I was born in a different decade? Things like this, there's starting to be character and object persistence. And I think this one summarizes it too. In the chat window or with the API, you can actually add up to like 15, 20 different images. So this is like hey, make a model at a photo shoot with all of these things. And if you start looking at the input, we've got a pink parakeet and a Balenciaga hat. We've got a Balenciaga hat and a pink parakeet in that image as well. And so being able to combine different things like this, there's a lot of opportunity in real estate. There's a lot of opportunity in staging, modeling, products. And so we're going to show what that looks like in Gumloop today. So that's a quick intro on Nano Banana. Again, as you have questions, just throw them in the chat or raise your Google Meet hand. I'm in the Canvas, so I'm going to be demoing as we go, but we got plenty of time for questions. And so just to show what we're doing in Gumloop today, before we start building, we're going to do an eight noted guide where you can go. It starts with an interface where you give it a product and you give it a company. It's going to do research on that company. It's going to do research on that company. It's going to come up with different ad ideas, both on the copy and image side. And we're going to be using Nano Banana here. So if we just zoom into the generate image, we're going to be using Nano Banana here to make some example ads. So this is one that I ran just right before this. The input was SF Candle Company. They make soy-based candles. And the theme was like, what would it look like to do a fall campaign? So this Google Doc is the output of this Gumloop. It's focused on Instagram right now. You could focus it to any different channel. It's the benefit of Gumloop. And you can see here, we've got the captions. You've got 10 minutes to yourself. The moment your house is quiet, your book is calling. And the only thing missing is a fall scent. Here's a pumpkin spice Campbell in a jar, hand poured with a great burn time. So you can see it's coming up with Instagram captions. It's explaining why it set up those captions too. So you've got a little bit of observability for what's being baked in. But the most interesting part that we're here for outside of different ideas for captions are the images. And so we have outputted some Nano Banana images. It has one, the product reference. So it's an amber-based candle. And then two, it spun this up. It's thinking based off of the brand and the product, what could be a great ad. This is the first one. This is the second one.
Do you feel comfortable sharing the doc with us?
100%. So I'm going to share, we've got the guide right here. So this guide is going to be the follow along guide for this whole workshop. And the guide right here has the template. So in Gumloop, if you're like, hey, I just want to sit back and listen, I don't want to build node by node, you've got a template you can copy right away. And then the example I just shared here is actually linked in right here. So you can also click to see everything I share. And as we build too, if you're like, hey, what was the prompt you used? What does that look like? We've got the prompts all baked into the guide too. So this guide that you're getting as a link, you've got the template, you've got the Google Doc I just shared with examples, and then you've got the prompts too. So you can follow along as we go.
And are you trying to run through like an agenda as fast as you can? Or like one idea that I thought was like, why don't we do my company actually? I'm in the process of writing ads. If there is time at the end, that might be fun.
Let's do it. Let's do it. I wanted to just do a demo and I want to start building. Let's run your company as the first example with the built schema. How does that sound?
That sounds wonderful.
Awesome. Let's do it. So our main output is going to be that Google Doc where we've got the general ad copy and the images. And then we'll talk about some ways to improve it at the end. So as a high level overview, we're going to use Nano Banana to come up with different ideas for ads. And we're going to build this step by step together. So my main recommendation is go to gumloop.com, start with a blank canvas. And so I'm just opening up in a new tab. If you just go to Gumloop and you got to log in. Once you log in, it'll give you all of your different flows. You just create new flow. And Gumloop just released a new functionality last week where their Copilot Gummy is now agentic. So you could even start with something like, hey, I want to generate images with Nano Banana and go from here. I don't recommend that. For understanding Gumloop, it's already as easy as Lego blocks. And so as you're building your first couple set of workflows, I do recommend going node by node. Gummy right now, generally great for QA, also interesting for some tips and tricks for structures. If you're trying to vibe code a whole automation workflow from scratch, you might have more debugging to do at the end than not. So Gumloop is actually so easy. My main recommendation is just go from a blank page. So as we're in this blank page, first thing you have to do is just name your workflow or save it. So let's actually, sorry, we got to add a node first. So in terms of Gumloop, I'm just going to hit this plus button over here. And Gumloop, as a reminder for people, it's a visual no code automation platform where everything is just drag and drop. And so you have different nodes like using AI, you have different triggers, like you could run this trigger every day. You have the ability to make custom nodes and call APIs too, which we can talk about at the end. But for this one, we're going to add the interface node up here. The interface is a front end form that you can run different companies and products on. So we'll try out with a new company at the end to see what the output looks like. So in this top bar here, I'm just going to hit add interface. We can see that adds the interface node to the canvas. I'm going to hit save in the upper right. And so now on this canvas, we have an interface that we can edit. And then now I can also rename the workbook. So I'm just going to call this product add build along. Gumloop also now has versioning and checkpoints. So as you edit one particular flow, you can save a lot within Gumloop itself too. So now that we have this interface itself, we're going to set up the interface so we can give it the information it needs. So as I click this node, I hit edit interface. That's going to come up with all of the different settings possible for what you can do with the interface node. So for the interface node, again, think of this like a front end form, like a Google form, where all of the information you're giving it here can be used in the Gumflow itself, the Gumloop itself. So you can do file upload, you could do dates, you could give it an email. We're just going to give it text. So I'm going to click the text box here, and we've got interface title. We'll call it the seasonal product campaign. And for this first text box we added, we're going to give company name. That makes sure we have the company that we're looking at. So we've got company name. Based off of that, I'm just going to add more text fields to this box. I'm going to add 3 total. So we've got company name as 1. Different companies can have different products. So we're going to separate company name from product name. So we can add that. Add another text field if you haven't already. And then we've got product page URL. This is going to be the website to give in where it's going to scrape and learn about the product. And then the last one is the product image. And the reason the product image is important is in Nano Banana, we can use a reference image to actually seed the ad. So for this candle example, we've got like that amber-based soy candle. Being able to add the image here, make sure that Nano Banana is referencing that image. So these are the 4 main blocks on entry. We've got company name, product page URL, and product image URL. And we can see here it's saved here on the canvas too, where this is the interface where we can use this as a front end even outside of Gumloop. I'll give everyone a second as we get that going.
Okay, so if I'm following correctly, this is the first step in the product ad template one, and you're just helping us kind of learn Gumloop on how to be able to kind of collect the inputs.
Correct. Correct. This is the first step, and we're just gonna go node by node because I find it's helpful to talk along. Why are we using these nodes? How do they work? What's the input output? So as we build along, we're just gonna be talking. As you have questions, feel free to ask too.
Okay.
And how's it going? Do you have the interface up? You ready for the next node?
I'll be a minute, but feel free to
Take
go ahead. I'm
take your
watching.
time. Take your time. Take your time. And Anu too, as we go along. I know you said you're mobile and you'll be building afterwards. Feel free to ask questions as we go too.
Cool. Thanks.
For sure.
And is buying the ad and like sort of optimizing and doing sort of like targeting, that's not something that you would recommend running through Gumloop, right?
Buying the ad itself, unless there was an API to run that, I don't think. So if we look at what can Gumloop do for looking at Instagram, for example, Gumloop has a bunch of MCP connectors, which is just a standardized way for an LLM to talk to an API. And so if we go into the Instagram MCP itself and we try to understand what tools do you have, we have the ability to get profile posts, get comments, get hashtags, find users, get profile details, stories, reels, and posts. So we can't actually run ads through Gumloop. We can just grab information from Instagram. So if there were certain competitors you had or certain information you wanted, where you're building up a database of competitor ads or just things that you liked to influence your own ads, you could build this in separately. As of right now, you can't run ads natively.
Okay. So the short version is like ads on autopilot is not really the value prop. It's like marketing posts and like scheduling kind of content pushes.
Yep. Yep. And if we can check afterwards too if there's any APIs to run the ads as the endpoint for this.
Okay.
And so just doing a quick search here, it does look like you might be able to use Meta's marketing API. I know for that, it can be hard to get access to. We've had a few startup founders try to use this and they've just been in limbo for approval. So it seems like if you do have access to anything you can do in the API, you can do in Gumloop because there's a custom node for that. So we can talk about more about that afterwards, but it looks like as a baseline, you have access to the marketing API and that is something where you can run ads, then you should be able to make that an endpoint in Gumloop.
Okay.
And there's a few other platforms too that look like you can schedule ads. Great question. And so as we have this form where we're taking in the initial information we need to just design the ad itself, the next step we're going to do is based off of getting the product page, we're going to do add a node. We're just going to search for scraper. We're going to scrape that website that's added, and that's used as the main seed to understand what is this product, how does the company talk about the product. And so just clicked in, added the website node, and now we've got that on canvas too. And to connect nodes in Gumloop, you just click on the middle circle of one node and then drag it to the top of another node. And you should be able to see the dotted lines. That means the information from one is now available in the other. So when we see the website scraper and it's asking for this variable, what is the URL variable? Now we can pick number 3 from the form, which is the page URL that says, hey, for this web scraping node, we want to pull up the product page. And what this node will do is scrape all the information from that website. So this will help make sure that we're enriching the context and it's not thinking about what a candle is or thinking about whatever the company is. It's actually getting the information from the website as a starting point and a source of truth. The second thing we're going to do based off of this information is do a perplexity search. So I'm going to hit add node, search perplexity. Perplexity itself is a AI-based search engine where it's looking up multiple pages based off of a query, and it's also synthesizing it. So the reason we're using Perplexity and not Google is we don't just need the pages themselves, we actually want an output from that page. And so I hit add perplexity, again, just drag and drop to connect the nodes. And this is where using Gumloop and using different integrations become really interesting because now this becomes modular. Instead of having that update like what are the best practices or what do things look like for specific ads, we could just run a query that's what are the best practices for Instagram ads right now. And the benefit of using this as a node is every single time we run the flow, it'll search the web, it'll find websites that list best practices, and it'll summarize them. And we can use that in the prompt in this flow itself for future prompts. For this one specifically, the prompt is in the guide, so you can just copy and paste it from the guide. This prompt itself, I made what are the 3 trendy ideas for the fall season for this specific company and this product for an Instagram ad campaign. So this is the main search query. Again, being able to pull up other information from the Gumloop so far from the page, we're pulling up the company name or pulling up the product page. So just make sure it's personalized to that. And then also outside of just what makes sense for like what's trending in fall, October 2025, we also just have like list best practices. So for this time of year. And so this specific prompt is biased based off the platform. It's looking for Instagram specific best practices and ads. And then also it's seasonal. You could get rid of the seasonal if you didn't want to, if you wanted to adjust what this looks like. And so when we think about why are these the first 2 steps after the form, when thinking about getting the right useful information for a virtual copywriter, we need context on what the company and what the product is, and also what are writing best practices and guidelines, because otherwise we'll just be stuck with pre-training data and it'll look like AI slop. So our main goal is avoid AI slop, which is if you just input it into chat.com, give me ads, this is what it would say. Trying to figure out how to enrich the context so it sounds like it's from the company, it's specific to the platform. So these 2 nodes do that. So we have it in context. We'll give a few minutes for people to set up these 2 nodes, and then we'll do the next step.
I keep going to Gummy. I don't know why.
On Gummy, so if you click Ask Gummy, it's gonna. Yep, great. It's a good question. So as you ask Gummy, you're gonna be here in this Copilot window where Gummy here is wrapped around your flow, and that's helpful if you're debugging something. That's helpful if you have specific questions. For this, if you hit Exit Gummy, you should just be in Canvas mode. So Gummy itself is set up as almost like this wraparound Copilot in Gumloop, and so if you're in Gummy mode, you're letting Gummy edit it, and you're just talking to it, which is kind of like vibe coding. For this, if you hit Exit Gummy up here in the upper left, you should then just be in Canvas node.
Okay.
Did that help, Jans, or is there still a blocker?
Yeah, and then I kind of lost my input form now. That was kind of annoying. Okay. What I'll do is just duplicate the one that you have and delete the rest of the stuff.
Yep, I would say that's why we have the template. You can always go back to that and use that as a base.
Is there a way to like set something as 1? So if you see my screen, I have like 4 being set. I like
so the 4. Yeah, you're talking about the four underneath that dot.
Yeah, this should be 1 and then 2 and 3, right?
Yep. So in terms of the 4s, what that is on the UX UI, that's just saying, hey, based off of this node, you have 4 outputs. So you don't have to worry about that. And you don't have to worry about that in terms of sequence. In terms of what that looks like, if we see that we connected the interface to this node, when we look up into the panel, you can see the four outputs of this node became the 4 inputs of this node that we could drag and drop. So the reason that Gummy has that, they used to have a single dot for every single input and output, and it just looked like spaghetti. You had like 10 different dots that you were trying to remember. Okay, dot number 5, guys, we're going to dot number 5 over here. And everyone's like, what the heck? So for the way they solve that is just, hey, everything is in one dot, but the number just helps you know, hey, there are 4 outputs from this node, and you put this into the input for this one. And you can see here, if we drag perplexity here, that's going to bump this number up to 6 because we also have the 2 outputs from perplexity. So that's just a helpful reminder for you to understand what's happening at that node specifically.
Okay.
Awesome. So we've got these 2 nodes. We've got one that's doing research and one that's scraping the website. Our next step is to bring those together to actually generate the ad copy itself. So I'm just going to hit add a new node. We're going to be using the AI node here. And the AI nodes, there are a lot of different nodes depending on what you want to do. You could do things like score ads based off of brand and based off of voice or brand guide. You could analyze images and videos too. So if you wanted to run through an ad to say, hey, does it actually fit this criteria? You can do web research. You could do open-ended web research if you wanted to get specific information. You can also extract data too. So you could extract specific outputs. We're just going to do an LLM call. So we're going to say ask AI. So I'm going to click that, pull that up here. And so as we have the website scraper and the perplexity web search, we're going to bring both of those together here. So I'm clicking the circle, I'm bringing them both in here, and we can see there's 1 output here, 2 outputs here. So now we have 3 inputs for this node. And that's what Gumloop is set up for, taking the outputs of one node, turning it into an input for another node, so we can get the output for a new one. And so we're just connecting these 2 here. So we have access to them here in this, this Ask AI. We're going to use a couple different Ask AI nodes here. So I usually like to name the nodes for what that node is doing. So I'm just going to call this generate 3 ideas. You could be focused on generating 1 idea, 5 ideas, 10 ideas, 100 ideas. The benefit of Gumloop is it is modular, and you can run as much as you need to get that task done. I'm just running 3 to show what it looks like to create some variation. And so I'm going to rename this. I just double clicked on this to say generate 3 ideas. So that way we know this node is the one that's the virtual copywriter. In terms of models, you've got all different models you have access to. So one of the biggest releases this week from OpenAI was their new agent kit builder. Really interesting to see them get into the visual agent builder canvas. The biggest backlash from the community is everything is an OpenAI model, which is like the reason people like these platforms is you can switch between Claude Opus, you can switch between Gemini, you can switch between Meta, DeepSeek, Grok, any model that there is, you can switch between. And even in a Gumloop, there's actually an auto select. So if you're like, I don't even know what might be the best task for this step, you can also use their auto select, which is a router. That's a huge up because every single week, these models are competing with each other, and most people don't want to be locked into one provider. So for this, we're going to use Claude 4.5 Sonnet. Claude is set up the best right now to run agents and do agent workflows for coding and just general for copywriting. So just recommend Claude. It's a good baseline. It's a balance between not too expensive and also not too slow. So it's a good baseline here. So we're going to switch that model to Claude. You can also experiment with different models if you have different models or even API keys you want to set up. But we're going to use Claude for this one. And then in terms of the prompt itself, because we have multiple information, we're going to be writing this prompt in Markdown. And all that essentially means is we're going to use different headers to separate the information. And the reason this is important is most people write prompts like they're doing single tasks, like, hey, generate me ads, here's all the info. The reason that that's not helpful for an LLM call at this stage, we have different information that's going to mean different things for this call. And we don't want it to treat all of it equally. We want it to figure out based off of the headers in the hierarchy, how to consider it. So instead of just saying, hey, generate me 3 images, here's all this info, we're going to create a hierarchy of the information so that it knows what it's doing here. So for Markdown, the main baseline here is 1 hashtag is header number 1. Think of that as like big text on a blog post. 2 hashtags is header number 2. 3 hashtags is header 3. You can also do numbered or bulleted lists, and you can also bold information. That's super important with some asterisks. So all this is doing is helping create a hierarchy. So because we're giving it a lot of context to consider, it's actually thinking through that hierarchy itself, and it helps it come up with a better answer. So for the role itself, this is all in the guide, so you can copy the prompt as you have in. I just have the guide open myself. For the role, you're head of growth with 10 plus years experience in online marketing. That just helps position it to understand what's up. You can even make this more specific for if you're building this for a specific company. You can say for your specific company and your audience. So you can make these prompts as personalized and specific to you and your use case. That's one of the reasons to use a tool like Gumloop is you can switch what this looks like. And also, if you're building this out for a client or for different workflows, you could connect the interface here and you could bring back the company name here where it's fully modular. So that's going to depend on what use case you're using this for. For now, just going to keep it a general prompt. You can personalize it if you want to try that out. Then the next step, the prompt itself is what its task is. And so maybe even saying outside of prompt, we can say your task. So your main task, use all this information to come up with 3 different prompts to feed Google Nano Banana Imagen for visually stunning viral campaigns. This is a very simple prompt. You could edit and update this too, depending on what you want to consider and what that looks like. And then the last 2 things in here is we now have more information for it to read because we've scraped the website. And we also have research for a fall campaign. So I've got 2 header 1 hashtags here. And now because we've connected those to the top of this node, now I can bring that information in. So the information that is scraped from the website, let's make sure it's here. And then research for the fall campaign. Perplexity gives us 2 outputs, the response list and the citation list. If you're ever doing something that needs backlinks, you can bring up the URL list. I just want the response because I just care about this as a seed for this prompt. So I'm just pulling over the response variable here, dragging it into here. So now this node will be able to grab whatever this information is. And so I'm going to hit save
Sorry,
here.
can you repeat that last 10 seconds? How did you grab the response from the previous node?
Yep. So for that last 10 seconds, Perplexity is connected here. As Perplexity is connected here, we have it up here in the input screen. So when you hover over this node, it's here, and just click and drag and drop the response and then pull that into the window. So it should look like this.
But there's no way to grab it from the arrow, right?
Correct. You've got no way just to like click this line and pull it in. And the reason for that is each one of these nodes has so many inputs and outputs. It's really depends on where you're putting it back into this window.
Okay.
I think you also can type the app sign here if you prefer, and that'll pull it up in a drop-down window here too. So you can call it into the window.
Okay.
Just with that, and that'll also pull it up. And so at this stage, my main recommendation, hit save. And also we're going to hit run. Just usually as building out flows, it's helpful to test different nodes and see what they're thinking. I want to do at least the 3 nodes so we could talk through them and see what it looks like. And so when you're testing an interface, you can actually text right into the node itself. So for the company name, we're testing SF Candle Co. They have a pumpkin spice candle that we're using. I'm just going to Google right now to pull up the page URL. All of this is in the guide too. So if you want to do this specific example, you can follow along. If you want to do your own example, Jan, you mentioned a company. Feel free to try that out too. Let's see what happens. So we've got the product page URL. My main recommendation for a product page, I'll show you what this looks like. When you've got a product page, the more information here, the better. So this product page just hit buy now. I might not use that product page, but for this one, we've got a description, how the company describes that candle, which is perfect. This is company level copy and branding that we can use. We can see what they care about. So we've got information that's scraping that'll help with the ads. And also more importantly, we also have user reviews. It's such a great bonus to have what users are saying and customers are saying, because that could also influence the ads themselves. So the page URL link you share here matters. If all it says is, here's a candle, not going to be that helpful. You might have to find another general product review page or something else. So this one is pretty good. So I'm just copy and pasting this one. And then for that last step, that number 4 step where we need the image URL, you need some image of the product. And when testing this workflow, I tried to see if we could Google search image and just pick the first result or the first couple results. Right now, it's way too complicated to pick the best product reference. A lot easier to have human in the loop here. So for this image, I'm just right-clicking, hitting copy address, because I like this particular image. You could also test this with another image if you wanted. All these had just like other information that we didn't need. So I like this blank image of the product. I'm gonna say copy image address, go back to Gumloop, And in Gumloop itself, that's number 4. We're not using this yet. We're going to use this for Nano Banana, but this shows Nano Banana. Here's the visual reference for the ads we're about to make. So now that we've got this text, company name, product name, project URL, and product image, we have all of the information we need here to run. So I'm going to hit save. And then in the upper right, I'm going to hit play or run. What that's going to do is it's going to create a new task, and it's going to go through every single step here, and we can see what it looks like. The benefit of building in Gumloop 2 is you have really clear observability to what each thing is doing. So we can see here, I'm just clicking on that first node, no inputs or outputs. Let's go to website scraper. We can see here it took the product page URL because we said to. That's the URL that it's starting with. And we can see here, it's helpful to just click in to see what is each node seeing at each step. And we can see it's pulling in all the information. So we have the header information, the costs. We've got shipping priorities, care instructions. We've got the user reviews. So it's got user reviews. And the description is also right here. So this is what text input we have from the web scraping node. Then when we go into Perplexity, we can say, hey, here's the search query, right? So it brought in the company name right here, brought in the product right here too. And this is what it queried. And let's see what the response is. So the response itself, there are 3 trendy Instagram ad ideas for this fall. We have cozy autumn vibes with warm colors. We have limited edition eco-friendly packaging with elevated glass. And we have interactive fall themes and promotions. Best practices for ads. So now we have this. This is going to be helpful for writing the ad copy. Use seasonal color, maintain brand consistency. Yeah, these are general best practices as you're writing different ads. And it's how Perplexity is working. It's making sense of this based off of all of the web pages that it's read through. So benefit of this is it's the most up-to-date online for different resources here. So you can see here, it looked at 15 different references. So I'm gonna close that. So we took those 2. And now I'm just clicking the generate image. It's combined all that information. So when we looked at the prompt over here, you can see under product website, it's inserted that text. And if we go into under research for fall campaign, it's also pasted all the text from Perplexity. So this is why it's important to tag the information in this context window. There's a lot of information here. If we just had all the information in one step, it's going to get confusing for that output. So that was the input for this node. And then the output for this node, we have our 3 ideas right now. Based off my analysis, here are some ideas for this is generating that first. These are ideas for ads. They're not actually the image or copy itself. We'll get to that in a second. So you have the first prompt, the golden hour ritual, target aspirational life audience looking for cozy luxury. And now it's starting to describe what this looks like, right? Cinematic overhead, flat lay photography. It's starting to use visual words that we can use as we make the image prompt. So that's helpful. I'm talking about why it works. It really taps into the cozy season trend, sustainable luxury close-up. And this is interesting too. It's actually starting to figure out who the audience is based off of the information it has. If you know your audience right away, you can hard code this. I designed this as just an open-ended one to see how far we can push the research workflow. And so it's got eco-conscious millennials and Gen Z. Let's do an extreme close-up of the candle itself, and really focus on the texture and the smells, why it works, and then the viral moment, maximum shareability, lifestyle photograph with friends. So what we can see here is it really is coming up with like 3 very different ideas, which helpful for us. We're trying to create different variation as we come up with these initial campaigns. And it's got some extra tips here. So that's what that looks like. Any questions before we start designing specific ad copy and images?
Yeah, I have one. Okay, so I did a checkpoint, and then how do I like look at a previous run?
Yep. So for checkpoints themselves, when you save a checkpoint, that's like saving a main point in a flow that you can go back to. And so there'll be a list you can go back to. That's helpful if you're like trying very different APIs or you're trying different things. In terms of previous runs, if you go to the dots on the upper right, it should, when you go over them, highlight to previous runs. That's going to pull up your current run first. That's the left tab. On the right tab, it'll show the previous run. And that will then actually open up in a new tab altogether. So how Gumloop works is every single flow you run will actually bring up a different canvas ID. This is helpful for debugging. This is helpful. You can send it to the Gumloop product forum. So anytime you run something, it'll be here in the previous run window.
Okay. Maybe it just didn't run, and that was the problem. So what I wanted to do was basically, I went a little bit off the beaten path. So I added like a product scraper URL, and then added blog. And what I wanted to do was basically, it keeps moving these things around. I did like a web scraper and then a combine for each of the links. Sorry, yeah, right here. So
Okay, hit save, hit run. Let's see what happens.
Okay, well, this was there. I don't know why it's struggling. Was it just like, did it lose the connection or something?
Unclick loop mode in the top right. So ask AI. So loop mode
right,
means it'll run multiple.
You're finding that for me.
Yeah. And then use it to delete those. And the reason that it kicked in loop mode is it looks like that combined text list is a list itself. So we can debug that with you afterwards. I don't think that's the right node. Go into the node above that. It says combine list right there to the left. So combining text, it's going to create a list where everything is separated. I actually think I think it's either join list items or merge text. There's one that just creates a giant text blob.
Okay.
Yeah, try, or not join paths.
Join list items. All right. Yeah, that was the problem. Thank you.
Yeah, so feel free to try that. The main goal is you want something out of that's just a single text, not a list.
Got it.
Cool, and we can debug that afterwards too. Part of Gumloop as you're trying out new things, it takes 5-10 minutes sometimes just to debug to get the information to go where it needs to.
Totally understand. I appreciate it.
Cool, and I like that you're building out extra because we can debug that afterwards. So now in terms of the last step, before we make the Google Doc, once we have this information in these 3 ideas, we're going to do 2 different things with it. We're going to use Ask AI node. So I'm just going to use AI, Ask AI. We've got one node here. And this one's going to be our add copywriter. So just renaming this, double click on this, rename this add copywriter, and I can duplicate this. And this will be the generate image one. Or actually, sorry, we don't need that one. We can just keep this as the Ask AI. We're going to copy and connect from the generate 3 ideas to this. And then the next one, it's actually a separate node called generate image. So as I say, add node, generate image. Now we've got this here, and this has the image APIs. And so now for each one of these, what we're doing is we're taking that research brief of those ideas for the campaign, and now we're trying to formalize it into a post itself. And so this is helpful. You can generate newsletters based off of this. You can generate ad copy. You can generate Instagram posts. And so for this one, the prompt is for each one of these 3 ideas, generate some ad copy that follows the best practices. And so we've got here, we've got the different ideas, and then output in Markdown. And what that's going to do is it's going to format it nicely in a Google Doc. For this, I recommend same thing, use Claude 4.5 Sonnet. You want the smartest model that will write good copy. You can test out different models for price and speed, but I like Sonnet 4.5. So for this one, it's generating the copy. And then for this image one, this is when we're starting to use Nano Banana. And so simple prompt here, you can see under models, you can go between Nano Banana, GPT image, DALL-E 3, DALL-E 2. So we're going to use Nano Banana. And then here, the main prompt is generate 3 different images, one based on each campaign idea. And the campaign ideas are coming in here. And this node itself can generate multiple images if it gets multiple ideas. So this is one of the few in Gumloop where you don't need a list coming in. A list is just having multiple items that are separate. So this is a little bit unexpected behavior, but we should get that here. So I'm going to hit save. I'm going to hit run. The benefit of also testing and running one workflow, the different nodes can cache sometimes. So we can see this ran like right away. We didn't have to rerun the perplexity and the generate idea one. We're just going to run the new nodes. So it's also helpful when building in Gumloop, when you run tests at every single step, just on one example, you don't have to wait the 2, 3, 4 minutes for each one to run. All the information is cached, which makes it really nice for testing. And under this window, you can see when a node is running, what the time is. If it ever fails, if someone gets a failure, we can help debug that now. It should say that. So we can see the add copy row succeeded. So just clicked in it, clicked responses, and we can see now it's taken the idea of the golden hour ritual and it's made a specific caption. So the ritual that changed my fall mornings, there's something about that first sip of coffee, a flickering flame, and a world still quiet. Nice. That's pretty good copy, and it's also coming up with different hashtags. Interesting now, this is actually creating different variations too. So we have 2 variations here. So we can update the prompt if we don't want, I don't mind because this is all printing to a Google Doc. But if you really just wanted one copy, you could update the prompt that says, hey, make sure there's only one caption per image because this is unexpected behavior. We've got the second prompt and that's running through. And we also have the third prompt. So this is all the captions that'll be shared in the Google Doc. I'm okay with the extra ones. I'm using this to inspire different ideas. If you wanted a specific output here, you could prompt even more to get that specific output. And what we can see here, down here, we can see here that this is the first Nano Banana image made. It's actually better than the first one. You've got like a fall spice board that like assumes the flavors, the scent notes that it has. It's got that amber of the profile, so it's got the right general product. It's got a cool bokeh background of a campfire. So that's one image generated. The second one, kind of funny. I don't know people who put candles by campfire, so it might not make sense. It's a little bit too literal, but we let the AI do what it wants, and that's what it said. And we can see here that it actually only generated 2. And so for this one, let's see, generate 3 different ideas, 1 idea based on each image. Because we're a little bit of prompting back and forth. Let's see if that generates 3 more. And if that doesn't work, we can come back to that just to finish up this flow. But this is usually the way to build the Gumloop. Figure out what nodes you want to use, work on the prompt, test an output. If the output is expected, keep going. If the output isn't expected, just update that prompt to see if you can fine tune to get a more expected output. So again, this is one of the few nodes in Gumloop that can take in a single list and it also make multiple. So we can see here it's not quite working fully. Now we have just 1 image here with some text, which is interesting too. So Gemini can add in image text to image too. But let's see what the input output is. Let's see if there's something we can do. Okay, it's got the 3 different tips. It's got the 3 different prompts. Generate 3 different images, 1 based on each idea. Viral worthy images. It's generating 2. Okay, something you can follow up with afterwards for people who want to run multiple. I think if I was to redesign this flow is designed to show how to get as quickly as possible to a briefing doc. If I was to redesign this flow, I probably would pull from a Google Sheet or a database to make sure every single time I had an ad idea, it's making 1 image per that database row. That's a way to make sure that this is actually running. And rather than running singularly, this would run in loop mode, which says for every single ad idea you have, run a new one. So that's one way to make this work a little bit more robustly. But we're going to keep going just in the interest of time to make sure we can get to the end of this. And so to the point that you hit, Jans, when we come out of this particular node, we can see here the output is a list. And that list says, hey, we're going to have 1 link for each one of these images. And in Gumloop, you've got lists of lists, lists, and text. And you need similar data structures to combine similar data structures. So because this output is just a text for the ads, but this is a list of links, we're going to add in the join list item operation. And all that is going to do, anytime you need help, you can ask Gummy. Anytime you're like, what does this node do? You can just read it. This is going to join a list of items into a single text. And so as I connect this to this, now what it's getting is a list that's separated of URLs. And now the output is just a single text.
Is there a keyboard shortcut for adding, like Command plus or something?
For adding a node?
Yeah.
Yep. So if you hover over the add node, if you're on Mac, it looks like it's Command B.
Okay.
Or sorry, Command B opens up that. Let's see here. Yeah, Command B, and then you have to just type in whatever node you're looking for. And if the node is already on screen, you can also duplicate it. It's another shortcut.
Command K seems to do better, if you're curious.
Oh, nice. Yep. Solid. And then the last part of this workflow is to take all that image so we're not stuck in Gumloop, but we're actually going to just output it as a Google Doc we could share or get shared with us. So going into the Google Doc nodes, let's do that. Command K. We're going to use Google Docs Writer. This can create a new Google Doc. You do need how Gumloop works is each account has credentials for different nodes. So you do need to add the credential for Google Docs. I already have mine added. Feel free to take the time should be simple to click this, add this as a credential. And if you need help, we can share that. And so in terms of this particular Google Doc, what we're going to do, we're going to go all the way to the top here and connect that top interface to the bottom. If it's easier, you can pull this up all the way to the top. So just dragging out the outputs from the interface node down to the bottom. And then in terms of this, the reason we're doing that is to title the Google Doc, we're using the company name, and we'll just call it Fall Ad Ideas. And this will make sure that each document gets, so you can remember each document gets titled based off the company that you run, or if you want to do company and product, you could do that too. And then the last thing here, we're just dumping out the content as is. So we're going to have the add responses first, that's response items. And then the joined list text is the images. Content format, we're going to use Markdown because for this node, we said output as Markdown. And that just makes sure that it has different headers as needed and it's just formatted nicer than just a bunch of plain text. And so this should be it. So I'm going to hit save here. This is the final link in terms of adding it to a Google Doc. Let's hit run. Let's see if we actually get a Google Doc.
How do you disable it from like running the format on out of? I found it. Never mind. Sorry.
Could you repeat the question, or did you figure it out?
I figured it out. I was like out of format on save was driving me nuts. And then it's like there's like a little settings icon at the bottom left when the runs is not showing.
I see. Nice. So as I hit run here, we got a Google Doc. So I'm just going to open up this Google Doc here. So we can see it formatted in Markdown. So we've got the Instagram copy. This particular one did multiple versions per. So we've got 2 different versions per. We've got best practices that it used. I even got extra recommendations. And then for the ads themselves, they're going to print just as links right now because we haven't formatted them. But each one of these links is the image that was generated. And we've got some text here. So that's it. We've went from single links to generating research, coming up with ideas, generating ad copy, images, and then putting that all into a Google Doc. Some things to note on this particular workflow that I added at the bottom here. One, just for the sake of time, wanted to be able to just add this all into a doc. Right now, it saves the image as a storage.googleapis.com link, which is saved on a Gumloop server. Gumloop server, my guess is just not permanent. It's saving it temporarily, anywhere from like 7 to 30 days. So the main thing you want to do if you're generating images with different APIs or different assets, it's always best to save it to whatever database you want to store them. So you could have it saved to your Google Drive, for example. That would be the simplest way to take that link and then just make sure the file is now under your cloud server. So that's important for longevity there. You could integrate with other APIs too. OpenAI just released their Sora 2 API on Monday. So if you wanted to go from static images to video, you could use any video API, Kling or other ones, or if you wanted to try Sora, that would be another opportunity. And that would be an API call through Gumloop. And then if you wanted to do different things like evaluate the ads to run them again, you could run it, score it, and then also have that as a feedback loop. So that what we were talking about before, where if you had a database of different products, links, and ideas, you could create that sheet. You also could use the scorer node on Gumloop. So I'm just going to go back to Gumloop. If you hit add new node using AI, the scorer node is a way to use LM as a judge, where you can give it criteria of like, hey, you can make it modular, like based off the perplexity search, or you can give it specific criteria that says, hey, let's just judge if the model in the shot is wearing modern clothing or fashion, whatever it is that you wanted to judge based off the image, you could score, scoring would be helpful for the copy text. If you wanted to analyze that for the image, you could also use the analyze image node. And what that will do is it'll look through the image and you can give it a prompt. So those are some ways to make this smarter and more personalized. for different ways to keep building on this. This is really just an intro to Gumloop and Nano Banana, but also showing how to get rich context enrichment from the product page. Jan's is trying out blog posts or Perplexity, and then also get some kind of output that's more than just text, being able to use the Nano Banana image gen in Gumloop itself. Cool. That's it. What we all have for you. Happy to answer questions. Jan, I know you're building right now. If you want to spend a little bit of time debugging, maybe Anu, I know you might have to hop. Any general questions from the workflow or the run through that you want to talk through right now?
No, I'm excited for the recording whenever you guys can send it out. So yeah, thanks so much for having me.
You're welcome. It's going to be linked right in the guide after this. And then we usually send out the recordings on Sunday morning. So you've got the link to the guide in the Luma. The recording will be there. And then I'm adding the examples for Nano Banana on the GitHub page that I showed. So if you're looking for other examples outside of product ads, there's a lot of different things you can try out with Nano Banana. Awesome. Thanks for joining. Jan, what questions do you have? I know you're building and breaking right now, which is one of our favorite parts. Feel free to share your screen if you got specific questions, or if you have just general questions, feel free to ask them.
Yeah, let's get an ad built. Okay, so I got a little bit creative. Do you know how to in loop mode, how to say like loop number, or like how do I make the file name different?
That's a good question.
This is like a separate kind of node that kind of takes in inputs, splits them to tuples.
It would be a separate node. I think there's a count, like a counter node. Make list. Tasks. My main recommendation when building up Gumloop, it's helpful to just run it once on one. And even if the names aren't perfect, just do that. Because as soon as you add another thing like, hey, generate a counter that gives me a number list that then adds to the name, every time you add something, it's just something else to debug. So I would just run it as is. And if you needed unique identifiers, you could make the Google API URL as the name. Because I think you're going to run into potentially some errors here.
Okay. All right, so I just got it to do first. Okay, so flow-wise, the only thing I kind of changed. Does zooming get stuck for you? Like
sometimes it does, yeah.
Okay, it's not just my.
It slows down sometimes, yeah.
Okay, so what I did was I added like a product scrape URL that takes the product scrape URL.
Yep. So you want to unclick loop mode there, yep.
And then, so is this the way to get it to get all the URLs and then?
Yeah, so if you're scraping something like a blog post, know that the website scraper is just grabbing the information on that one web page. If you use website crawler, it's going to click every link and grab more information. So that's a different flow. So because you're using website scraper, get all URLs, I think that means it's just going to grab, all information. So website crawler would be based off the blog post, grab other information too.
Got it. By the way, thank you so much for hosting this session.
Yeah, you're welcome.
I was hoping that like we would do like an ad at all the way till the end, so have this thing.
I see. Yeah, get it posted on the platform.
Yeah, or like personalized. You know, like the intelligence bit that would be really valuable is trying to be able to kind of per different customer demographic or whatever.
Yep. It makes sense. So I would say we built this workflow to be as modular as possible. So where if you wanted to add different customers, two ways to do that. I'll share my screen again. One way to do that, if you want the human in the loop to be in control, or you're saying, hey, I'm running this ad for Gen Z millennials, I'm running this ad for whoever it may be, people who like making brownies for Halloween, whatever the general audience is. You can add this up here so that the ad copy is made just specifically for that audience. If you wanted to make variations, you could also have the Perplexity seed say, hey, come up with 5 target audiences And so now what it's doing is it's thinking through based off of its research, based off the seasonality in the product, it'll also come up with target audiences. I don't know if I would put this in this node in particular. I might do that separately because it's going to depend on where you use that information down the line. So you can make it more dynamic where it's imagining what that looks like, or you can make it more precise and specific where you're giving that opportunity to someone who's kicking off the flow.
Gotcha. Well, I guess my suggestion to you is basically like a part 2 for this that I would find really compelling would be it's like connected to amplitude or mixed panel, and then like give it some customer demographics, and then autopilot like Google ad captions, experiment, and then kind of try and figure that out. I think these are entire startups, but if I can do it on my own self-hosted kind of setup, that would be awesome.
Yeah, that's awesome. And I would say alongside doing these community builds, we also do one-on-one sprints, helping people build flows just for their need. The one thing that's been challenging in the community is it's hard to figure out what's useful for everybody without too personalized. And so some of the examples you've done that you said, we usually, if people need help and they want it coached through, we help coach through people to build out their own flows to deployment. We've also built Gumloops for people too. So I would say usually we start getting into custom integrations, amplitude, mixed panel, specific demographics. What a demographic is for you and your company might be different than a general e-commerce store. So usually the information becomes different. And it's one of the fun parts of Gumloop is just figuring out how do you get this onto the canvas to run. So happy to follow up afterwards if you're curious, or if you just have some QA, you can also just shoot over an email.
Okay, that makes sense. And is that mainly how you monetize now?
Yep. So our main goal as an education organization, we help run different workshops where people can build their first thing. And then as a community, we do one-on-one sprints and coaching to help people build.
Gotcha. I'll definitely check you guys out. Okay, so still has an issue somewhere. What? Oh, flow started finally. Yeah.
So it looks like one of the nodes isn't connected.
Is it just a warning?
So if you go down to the Google Drive file writer, it doesn't look like anything is connected. See the file to write, see that input, that top section.
File to write. Oh, I see. Why is this? So this shouldn't be on loop mode, but then if I try to turn it off, it doesn't.
I don't think you need that item there. I think you can delete list items. Just delete the node altogether.
The whole node?
Yep, you can delete the whole node.
Okay, so we had like 3 images that are coming out, and we were trying.
And then if you hover over that node, drag and drop those 3 images, drag and drop that list.
Sorry, there was a loud noise on my side.
Okay, zoom into the Google file writer. And then as you hover over it, see that? Yep, see that? Click that guy. Yep, click the drop down arrow, click that guy.
Drop it in?
Yep.
So like it was like, how does the name?
Oh, I see. It's list of lists. Got it. So okay, sorry. So you do have to go from list of lists to lists.
I think this needed to be just not loop mode.
Oh yeah, just keep that regular. Yeah, there you go. So maybe now that every single file that writes, it'll make one specific file for that.
No inputs and outputs. You had like a much richer view. Was it this one?
So if you click back there, click View Inputs Outputs, and then on the right side are going to be the outputs. So if you click, those are the links that it's referencing. Those are the
It's getting tripped out on how to make a document editor a fall thing. That's kind of cool. Okay, so it's just me and you.
Yep.
Do you have a
I've
hard
got a few
stop,
more
by the
minutes.
way?
I've got 4 more minutes. Happy to debug this, see where it goes, and give tips to make it work.
Yeah, I just want you to see it finish, basically.
Yeah. Whenever building out, my main assumption is the first run always fails. There's always just, we already fixed 2-3 errors, just assume it's going to break. If you assume it's perfect, doesn't work, it's very easy to rage quit.
Yeah. So this guy said finished, but it should have been waiting on some stuff.
Is that the only file writer on the canvas? If you go up, that's the only one?
Yeah.
Huh, okay.
Even the generate image says finished, but
Yeah, nothing there.
does it optimistically run before it's finished?
I usually, the way I design flows, the reason I stack them vertically is I like to make sure that one is after another.
Yeah.
So right now, I don't know.
If generate is definitely
Because it
after.
generates definitely after it, so I don't know why that would kickstart. Let's see what it does at the end, because I'm curious.
Yeah. Generate 3 ideas hasn't run yet.
Huh.
Can I see what it scraped, or
It
only copies? Okay.
If you click the website, so it's going to give you the URLs, and then the scraper itself will give you the content it's scraping.
No, what happened?
Okay, it failed on a website scraper. So usually when you start having different nodes like this too, especially the website crawler and scraper, what you want to do is on the left side, add an error shield. So you type in error shield. And you can drag and drop that node into the error shield.
Yeah.
And so all that is saying is like, hey, if I miss scraping one website, don't kill the whole run, just skip that URL, or it might skip the whole node depending on how the node is programmed.
Got it. So just rerun this is kind of the next thing.
Yep, and then I would add an error node around all the website scrapers and crawlers. So the reason I didn't add an error node is it's just single input output. So my assumption, if someone's trying to add something that can't be scraped, you just add another one. So for this one, because you have a bunch of URLs, pretty much you just want to make sure if there's any place where the flow might fail, you don't want it to kill the whole thing.
Gotcha.
Cool, and I do have to hop. I'd say my recommendation, feel free to
Thanks
run
again,
it.
Michael. I've added you on LinkedIn and would love to
You're welcome, Sam.
collaborate on some stuff. Are you in SF?
Can we post it? Yeah, I'm in SF, right in the mission.
Okay, me too. I'm like, maybe we'll grab coffee. I'll message you. Thanks again.
Let's do it. Let's message each other. The last thing I just want to let you with too, you're probably going to get at least 1 or 2 more errors because you've got a lot of things running at once. I don't know why the generate image is running first. That's a great thing for Copilot. So what you can do is run it. When it fails, copy that link over and say, hey, Copilot, why did this fail? Gummy is really good at helping initially debug things, so you can see how far you can get there.
Wonderful.
Cool. Awesome. Take care.